Whoa!
Coming in hot, son. Haven't done one of these in a while, man.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So put up a Q&A on IG like yesterday. If you don't know, prior service, first lieutenant, staff sergeant, and we always get a lot of questions, at least I do, about like, hey, I'm looking to go into the military regardless of the branch, or I want to stay and want to get out, transition from military to corporate. And so we're going to do a little Q&A from IG. Before we get into this, what's like the hands down the most frequent question you get about military shit?
Most frequent question? I mean, right now a lot of my content is geared towards like physically preparing and mindset like change for military minded. So a lot of the questions I get is like embracing the suck or like how to properly prepare for. So there's like two sides of the questions I get from people online. It's one, how do I prepare for? Two, how do I transition out? So there's a lot of people that are like getting ready to go in, like it's a mindset in itself, but there's a completely different mindset when you're transitioning out. You're going from like the military lifestyle to holding a job, working corporate America, being a business owner, being an entrepreneur. So there's two sides of the coin there.
It's reverse brain dump. Everybody's going from civilian mindset and thinking like having total control of your life and then giving that up, and then you get used to that and then you got to go backwards. So yeah, always going in. Usually for me, it's always like which branch should I choose? Which branch, which MOS? But you all asked some specific questions, and we're going to jump into the first one. Dealing with, if you switched rank for a day, what would you do or experience benefit-wise of each other? So I'm assuming like if I was an officer for a day, and if you were enlisted for a day. For me, I guess, because as an E6, a staff sergeant, anytime you get into a non-commissioned officer role, you're in a leadership position. You're in like mid-management level, where I would take orders from, unfortunately, from this guy right here. So basically, I would be kind of like taking the big higher-up orders and then looking at delegating out tasks and just making sure operations run and finding the best soldier for the job and then reporting it back up the channel. So if it was switched, I'd be running the show. I'd be looking at all the operations, logistics, higher level shit.
I think like for me, I still do, but when I was in, I have a huge respect for non-commissioned officers and like what they do in the military. So from like an officer perspective, a lot of the stuff we did was planning projections in regards to logistics, training plans, working with non-commissioned officers to get the training done. But I was always jealous and envious of the NCOs because they were like with the soldiers, working with them, and that's always
we're the ones doing the shit.
Honestly, that's something I always wanted to do. So I always like I had this dream of going back into the military as enlisted.
It's funny, if I would have stayed in, I was looking going warrant officer or going OCS, switching to officer.
I think like even from a business perspective, I love being in there with the guys doing the stuff. That's just where I have fun and enjoy it. And that's kind of one of the reasons I transitioned out of the military, is because my next role was a captain, where I lost even more.
Actual hands-on stuff.
Hands-on
stuff. That off a lot.
It was more of an operational planning perspective. So I would have loved to have been an NCO, like working with a squad leader position.
I think hands down, whichever path you want to look at, going enlisted or officer, if you can, and most people don't know this until they get in, think about, am I going to make this a career or not? Because if you want to go career, I personally, if I could go back and do it all over again, I would go enlisted first, get my stripes, and then transition up to an officer. Because if I want to go career, like 20, 30 years, get more into like the leadership role so that you then can transition out into like an executive level role. I personally would have gone that route. I think enlisted to officer is a great way to go if you want longevity.
That's definitely the way to look at it. Longevity versus just doing your time.
Yeah.
I got a little taste of like the NCO role, because when I first got my platoon as a platoon leader, our whole unit was like wiped out. We were very low on manning, so I had like an E5 at one point as my platoon sergeant.
Yeah.
I had like no squad leader, so I was acting as the squad leader and the PL and the platoon sergeant at one point. It was crazy, but I was like actually going with the platoon and training squad on tactics and you know, all like the skill level 1 stuff, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
So from like a 4 to 8 year in and out kind of role, like I would have loved to be an NCO. Longevity though, from like a strategical standpoint for executive management, building a resume, that's where it's officer related.
Which again, most people don't know. Like either you get in and you realize I love this and I'm gonna stay in, or you're like, nah, fuck that, I want to get out. Yeah. If you can, go in with the end in mind. Out of every place you have been with the military, what was your favorite location? For me, it was like TDY Germany. I was TDY to Germany for like a couple months. We were actually just talking about this earlier. I was assigned to a special forces group. We were working with British Special Forces, Canadian Army, doing a lot of like joint operations command stuff in Garmisch, and a lot of it was there for like our MI specific work. But we got to see and experience a lot of other branches.
I mean, I haven't been that many places. I spent a lot of my time in South Korea. I was there for 9 months, and that's where I did a lot of self-development outside of work with the military that was directly correlated to like my job in a leadership management role. So like my time in South Korea is where I learned a lot about myself as a leader and as a manager, and as well as like just living in a different culture where you don't speak their primary language.
Totally immersed.
That's one of the best things I've ever done in my life. Eye-opening.
And this wasn't a question, but I would say this. Another question I get frequently is like, how do I optimize my time in the military? Like maybe people get pissed off when they're not doing their job, they're not doing their MOS, and they feel like, this isn't what I signed up for. Like, take advantage of that downtime like he did. You can do your job, but then look at all the other benefits. You can, do stuff on your downtime. You can get your degree. Tuition assistance is back, I heard. Like, totally cover your education while you're in. So if you're not getting out of it what you signed up for, which is a pretty common theme I think a lot of people experience in the military, make it work for you so that if and when you do get out, you have more of an advantage. You can build your resume, get a degree, take night classes, get a certification, which is exactly what you did, man. That was the time when like BPN really that was the groundwork.
Yeah. Military is like anything else in life. You are provided all the opportunity you could ever ask for.
They give you the answers.
But it's what you do with it. So like if you decide to do nothing with it, you don't take advantage of any opportunities, the advantages, you don't put in the work, it's not going to work for you. It's not like this, you just sign up, you go to basic training, and then you are just like entitled to everything else in the world. No, like you got to put in your time, you got to work, you got to take advantage of opportunities. I used to tell my guys all the time, like if there's a school that comes down the pipeline, even if it's like a troop school that you don't want to go to, take advantage of it because it's going to be on your resume. Like the one school I went to was I was unit movement officer. No one wanted to be the UMO because you have to do all the paperwork for moving, like logistically, a company at my level, a company sometimes across seas. Like I moved a company from Texas to Korea.
Yeah.
But having that like logistical record is huge.
It's a huge carryover.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what you're doing with operations and logistics and running a business now.
Yeah. So like take advantage of this. Is like not just applicable to the military, but if you're in a job and there's some skill or some job skill that comes available, like take advantage of it because it can only help you. It can't hurt you.
And that's another thing most people don't realize is that when that opportunity comes down the line, if they just need to fill a slot, fill a billet, whatever, yes, sometimes you get stuck, you get tasked with it, but all that stuff adds up and builds up to your military resume, which has a carryover. Like most people don't know a lot of these schools, your basic training, any like specialty school training you go to in the military has like civilian credits, civilian equivalent. So I didn't even know at the time. I was like 3 random classes away from getting my associate's degree just based upon my language training, basic training, like other schools and stuff that I went to. So basically you don't know what you don't know, but you're passing that opportunity up if you just say no to everything.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is a good one. Again, going back to kind of like a really frequent question I get is I want to transition out. Like maybe I did my 20 or like I don't want to re-up. How do I transition back out? So this question specifically asks, what's the best way to use your military experience once your contract is over? And I think that directly can be answered by what we were just talking about before is think about the end in mind. Like, so if you have an idea what you want to do when you get out or as a possible civilian career, look at how the military can be a tool. Use it really. It can be a great leverage. Like you get free education, free training, you get to travel the world, you get to do all these things. Yeah, you can be put in harm's way and it's a really demanding, taxing job. But if you can devote your time to that, knowing that it's going to pay off in the end, I mean, I think that's the best way to transition out. The best way to transition out is to make the most use of the time you have in on your contract.
Yeah, like the military it literally changed my life. Like my 4 years in the military, 8 plus ROTC, literally changed my mindset, my leadership role, my management ability. They completely changed my life because of the things I learned while I was in. Like your time in the military, it's a mindset. So all these people, when I was like signing up for the military, like don't go infantry because infantry has no applicable skills to the outside world. So I was like, okay, well,
I've heard that.
I'm going infantry. So I went infantry, and I learned through the process. Like, well, shit, I've learned more about leadership, management, logistics than I have in my time in the military or my time in college. So like my time in the Army, I learned so much more actual, realistic, applicable skills than my entire time in college with some business minor courses. It blows my mind that people think that your time in the military is not applicable to what you do afterwards. 100%. And like learning from other business owners, other veteran entrepreneurs that have done the same thing, have transitioned out and built a business, they feel the exact same way. So it's not like this. We're not like this different star that just like use their skills in the military and use it to their advantage as an entrepreneur. No, it happens all the time. It happens every day.
For me, I think that sounds like it was like the biggest, probably surprising thing you learned. Maybe.
Yeah, I'd say.
Yeah. For me, it was like this guy's coming over. Looking back, like a skill set that I think I have now that works well for me is cultural diversity, because you're immediately exposed like people from different backgrounds, different races, and especially like I trained a lot with different forces within the U.S. forces, but also around the world. And you're exposed to different cultures and just different backgrounds. But at the end of the day, you're both there to accomplish the same task, the same mission, or you need to work together to figure that out. Which has been huge for me now, getting out and like, doing anything really. I mean, because it completely, I think, removes the self in a lot of ways. Being able to better work with people as a whole, for me, was a big takeaway.
Yeah, that's like one of the biggest things I wanted to touch on is working. Like I worked civilian small jobs before graduating college and going to the military, and the job is the job. So the people you work with at work, like work is work. When you're in the military, though, that is your life.
Yeah.
So if you're an NCO and you have soldiers, you're responsible for your soldiers' lives, their relationships, their kids, like everything that happens.
You take on every responsibility. Yeah.
So you take that from your time in the military to the civilian world, and maybe like you're working with someone and you have a subordinate that isn't doing very well at their job, or something happens. Well, you take that, you realize what they're doing. You dig into like, okay, well, how's their relationship? How are their kids? There's something going on at home. And you take care of your people will take care of you.
Yeah.
Like an organization is only as strong as the weakest link. So you find the weakest link and you identify why are they weak and how can you help them get stronger.
Oh yeah, I think if you can like help one of your soldiers, one of your employees, maybe they're falling asleep at work or like they're dropping the ball for whatever reason, come to find out it's because they're getting crappy sleep at home, they got a newborn or like some crazy schedule. Like if you allow them to still get their job done, but you change their schedule, change their shift, and that completely improves productivity, which can, at the end of it, improve your bottom dollar if you're a business owner. Or in the military, that changes your ability to actually stay on time, stay on track, get the job done. Getting to know the people, cultural diversity, and digging deeper instead of just looking at surface level problems as to like, you failed, you failed or you passed, get out of here. So going deeper with people, absolutely.
You're building a team. Like the team you had in the military, you have a team. Like I'm a business owner. I have a team. I have employees. We have contracted athletes that we pay. It's taking care of your team as much as possible. And that's been one of my biggest. That is always on my mind. Like when I wake up, from the time I wake up till I go to bed, like how can I better serve my team? How can I better take care of them? How can I pay them more? So it's working with people. Like the military. No matter what you do, you're not going to get paid more unless you get promoted.
That's the one downfall of the military. You can really work your ass off, and maybe you can pick up promotion faster because you get recommended for the board sooner, or I don't know how it is for officers, but like usually the extent, the power in which you work, or the level in which you work, it does not directly correlate to making more money.
But that's also a benefit to you because if you can lead people, if you can lead and influence people to follow you and act on the decisions you make based off of their distrust in you. Like someone puts their trust in you to follow your decisions. Yeah. That's huge when there's no monetary benefit out of it.
They're not driven by the bottom dollar. Like that shows.
You go to the civilian sector then and you run a business or you're doing something in the community, people are driven by that dollar. People will not act unless there's a dollar involved. If you can find that community or you have that influence, that leadership to have people follow you and trust you without a monetary benefit, that's leadership 101.
I can tell you, like, I could rattle off a whole nother video of, like, times in my last job, people would complain, like, hey, we got this new program we're doing, or we have anything, hey, can you stay late? Can you come in early? Can you help out with this? What's the first thing they say? It's like, I don't get paid enough for that. Yeah. And that's not the motivation usually in the military. I mean, you're going to have some, like, shitbag soldiers every once in a while, which actually ties into the next question about poor leadership, like working under poor leaders. Question. Pause this real quick. Poor leadership. I actually have one leader in mind who was a horrible, I think just a horrible person in general, but also definitely a horrible leader. Name redacted. Basically was just like, I'm sure you can relate. In the military, a lot of people hide behind their rank and they will flex for no reason. They will use that authority, whether it's completely necessary or not, just because they can. And I honestly, there's no like direct correlation here, but a lot of things build up that put me in the position to be in a training environment where I probably shouldn't have been, that eventually kind of led to some of my injuries that eventually led to me getting discharged out of the military because of poor leadership, of her decision to justify, hey, I'm above you, so go do this because I say so. I'm curious though, for you as a leader, do you think anybody thought that about you?
I say this confidently that I don't think anyone thought it about me. Like, I'm not just bullshitting here, but I had the trust of my soldiers.
Yeah.
Like, every decision I made was like them in mind. So like my boss, I took his left and right limits and his intent, and I followed that. But at the end of the day, it was like, okay, I'm gonna talk to my NCOs. What do you guys think? Okay, let's devise a plan that, like, you take care of your dudes. That's what it comes down to. There are some leaders in the military. There's leaders everywhere, not just in the military, that just care about getting to the next rank or getting the next promotion. So they do whatever they have to. They step on as many heads as they have to. They burn bridges just because they want to get to that next position, and they don't care who gets like slaughtered on the way up. There are people everywhere like that, and you identify them very quickly.
Oh yeah, they stand out in the crowd. Yeah, I'm curious. So like my leadership level, like I would be at a point where I would have, a squad, sometimes acting like platoon underneath me. So anywhere from like 5-7 people up to really 30 to 50 sometimes. You, on the other hand, directly responsible for a couple hundred, right?
As a PL, I had 40.
Okay.
40. So that was my highest position was platoon leader. So
once you get up to captain, you have more
I had
battalion level.
40 guys that were like strictly in my platoon, so I was responsible for them. But if you're a good, strong leader, like every decision you make, there's the mission. Mission comes first.
Yeah.
Mission then the men.
Yeah.
So like, all right, are we accomplishing what we have to, and are we mitigating all the stupid shit that we can avoid for the guys?
Which you're gonna have a lot of stupid shit. That the stupid shit in the military doesn't really go away. If you have a good leader, sometimes you'll get to train to standard, not to time kind of stuff. Which for me, you're gonna waste so much time. I can't tell you how many times I was stuck in the field. Like, training manual says we're here until ODark 30, and like we accomplished the job half a day ago. Yeah. Someone watching right now though, like who is dealing with a poor leader, like let's say they're in the military or like a shitty boss at work, like how would you tell someone to handle working with a poor leader?
This is the first thing I would have them do, because a lot of times the word and the term toxic leader gets thrown out there like bread and butter. Like everyone's using the term toxic leader, when in reality a lot of those leaders aren't toxic. They're just doing their job. So like if you think you have a bad leader, you have to pull yourself away from that perspective and look at it from their role. Yeah. So like if you're like a private on the ground and you're doing something that you think is stupid, well, you probably don't have the intel or the knowledge of what's going on from the battalion commander's perspective. You don't know what you don't know a lot of times. Exactly. So like you have to really pull yourself away from perspective, look at the broad mission, and first off establish if it's an actual bad leader or if it's something you have to do. Like sometimes you do things that suck that you don't want to do. Yeah. It's part of the military. That you don't understand, and sometimes you're not meant to understand them. But then if it is actually like a toxic bad leader, a lot of the times you just gotta deal with it. Like honestly, it sucks to hear. Yeah, that's a part of the military. I mean, there is that clearly defined hierarchy. Like, I'm either above you or below you or right at your level. And I don't, like, if you've been in 2 days longer than me and you make promotion before me, like, I now have to listen to what you have to say. That's just the way it goes. So I think a lot of the times you need to just accept that. You need to accept a lot of things when it comes to poor leaders and just what you have to do in the military. But also at the same time, I can think of a couple examples where, I personally felt like it wasn't safe, or maybe things were just really being done not according to regulations. And there are avenues in the military. You can talk to JAG, you can talk to your NCO, you can talk to your leader directly, which is one thing I would definitely recommend.
if you feel like it's a toxic leader, if they're directly above you or 3, whatever, respect the chain of command. Don't try to like just completely go straight to like your commanding general or go straight to the CEO if you're in the corporate world. There is a structure for a reason. There should always be someone at least at your level, if not just one above, to talk to and just really be like, hey, is this poor leadership? Is this safe? Is this whatever?
There's a difference in like bad leadership and like unethical, immoral leadership.
Yeah,
If there's unethical, immoral, okay, then you have to like follow through on that. But if it's just something you don't agree with, or you think it's a bad leader from your own opinion, what you do is you work your ass off to make promotion to get to that next leadership role, so you can have an influence, and you learn from their mistakes and what you don't like, and implement that in your own leadership management strategies, so that you can learn from that. Because no one is born like this bomb great leader.
Yeah.
You aren't born. It comes with experience. Yeah. So the thing is, like, you have to learn from your failures and other people's failures and mistakes, and then kind of put that in your like leadership bin and use that to your advantage when you're trying to make decisions or lead and influence people. You learn from other people.
Yeah, I would say hands down in the military and in the civilian world when I was working in corporate America, I always kind of knew what was right. I think you always kind of know what's right, or at least you hope so. But my leadership technique, how I led, how I managed, was more influenced by what I wanted to not do, by looking at leaders and managers and bosses who really taught me, like, they don't value me, they don't respect me, and kind of just hiding behind that rank, So I would say pay attention. Don't view them as a way to kind of just like feel bad and feel like they're squashing you, but it's a lesson. Learn the leadership qualities. Learn what not to do from them, so that you, come time, you can step up and really be the leader that you needed and wanted at the time.
That's what I've learned. Like, most of my stuff is what I don't want to become, what I don't want to do.
Yeah.
And you kind of figure out like how you avoid that and make the right decision based off of, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like that dude. I'm gonna establish my own plan and be like the person I want to be. So you're making decisions based off of the guy next to you, guy to the left and right, behind, in front of you,
or girl.
Yes.
Ladies can do stuff now.
So it's your leadership skills aren't something you're doing for yourself, you're doing for other people.
Yeah, that hands down I think is the biggest carryover I picked up from the military. Very quickly, basic training and everything the officers do in their initial training, they make it a point to teach you that this isn't about you. It's about the girl and the guy to the right and left of you, and it kind of really helps take away the self a little bit. How have you seen that here? Running your own show, running your own business, how have you seen people who don't understand that, like hiring, working with people who like haven't gone through the same experience? Because that's another question I get a lot is like, hey, I work with people and like they've never been in the military, they don't get it, like I can't relate to them. Like, how do you instill these kind of values and general work ethic in people?
I mean, it's hard. It's hard to like teach people that.
Yeah.
Like right now, our team is super strong. So, and I can confidently say this: I can go into, and this happened last week. I went into the warehouse with the guys. I was like, hey, we have this production order coming in. It's going to land in the warehouse Friday afternoon. We can wait till like the next week to release it.
Yeah.
And like, no, let's do it now. Let's work the weekend. Let's come in Saturday and Sunday. I'm like,
That's nice.
Hell yeah! Like, you have to. Your team has to be on board with the mission.
Yeah.
They have to see the vision and like be able to run with it. I think that's like it's one of the biggest pieces of leadership and management is you have to paint this clear vision of what you're trying to reach. Like your team needs to know your goals and your objectives, so they know exactly what they're working towards.
Yeah.
I think some like the worst leadership or the worst leaders that I've experienced is they tell you to do something, but you have no clue what you're working towards, what the objectives are.
Effective communication. This all comes down to.
If you have effective communication and your intent and your objectives are clear, like the vision is clear, your team will figure out like the pieces in between, and they'll run with it. They just need to know what they're trying to do. But you'll see, like, you'll be working on projects. So I've been on projects with people or working on something. Everyone huddles together, like, yo, what are we doing right now? Like, what are we doing? It's like Fire Festival, man. Like, what's the plan? There was never a plan.
We were sold a lie.
Effective communication within a team, like being able to build a team is one thing. That's a big thing. Having effective communication within a team and everyone knowing the vision within that team, you have to have those 3 principles.
And not to keep beating a dead horse about leadership, but honestly, I think that's huge when you're looking at like whether it's someone in the military or a boss above you in the corporate world, asking like, why do they suck? Why are they such a bad leader? I feel this way, whatever. look at yourself. You know, if you're not effectively communicating what you need in that experience, if you're not effectively communicating what you're looking for, how you can grow in that position, how you can get promoted, how you can contribute to the overall mission of your unit or in the military, like sometimes it's you know. If you feel that way, if you feel like the leadership is a one-way street and you're not getting out of it what you want, ask yourself the hard question, you know, what am I not doing? Where am I lacking? Because sometimes that may just be it. Maybe this is all one-sided and you're not conveying that.
I think this is a good way to look at it from outside the military, like from an entrepreneur standpoint on social media. If I'm following someone and I'm following them for weeks or months, and I know they're like doing something, but I still like I follow them their stuff all the time. They're doing stories, they're doing posts, they're doing videos, but I'm like, what do they do?
Yeah.
What is it? What are they trying to accomplish? What are they trying to get across? If it isn't clear to me, it's not clear to anyone else. And to me, I'm like, okay, well, they're failing. They're failing at least one aspect of being a leader on a social platform is they have no clear intent within their community, within their team. So you have to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we could go on and on. We got some really good questions on here, but I think we got a timely video. But I mean, hands down, whether you're in the military, whether you're not, a lot of the times the questions we get are stemmed around, should I do this? Should I join the military? Should I go for this? You know, am I a good leader? Am I being led properly? You can take the military aspect out of it. It all for me comes down to just like asking the right questions, effective communication, seeking mentors, personal development. The physical conditioning is definitely a huge part of preparing for the military, but honestly, like they teach you all that. Like going into boot camp, any school you go to, yeah, you gotta have some kind of level, but like they teach you everything. Like military, they give you the answers to everything. It's all a mental game up there. So if you can handle that, I mean, that is the biggest carryover, I believe, in the personal world, especially once you start like open up your own business, run your own business, do entrepreneurship, like create anything for yourself and that represents yourself. You have to have taken care of the self first. So for me, hands down, it's that mental fortitude. It's the ability to just like endure in the military that has been the biggest carryover for me that I think anyone enlisted or officer would agree with.
No, yeah, the thing I learned in relation to that in the military is, as opposed to an entrepreneur, there's no like, hey, I'm going to work this hour to this hour and then I'm done.
Yeah.
It's like...
That's huge. I never realized that. Yeah, because we're never off the clock in the military. We're never off the clock now.
Hey, you go to the field for 30 days. You're working for 30 days.
Yeah.
So you want to build something, a business, or you're working on a project, or you want to get a promotion at work, there's no like, hey, I only have 9 to 5 to do this. No, you have 24 hours.
Yeah.
That's how you spend those 24 hours. And I think that when I learned that in the military, like, time doesn't matter. Like, time doesn't exist. I lived my life when I was in Korea for 9 months. I lived my life like there were 25 hours a day. And that's how I still live my life. Like there's 25 hours a day.
25/8, man. Yeah. You just got to ask yourself, how bad do you want it? What are you willing to do to achieve it? And why do you want it? What are you going to do once you have it? Absolutely. So true, man. So true. I mean, you're never off the clock in the military, and then if you choose to do your own thing, you know, start a business, grow anything that's going to have your name, your vision, a brand behind it, you got to have all that stuff taken care of first. Absolutely. So, yeah, if you guys want to check out Nick's channel, I'll link it down below. He is the founder, owner of BPN, Bear Performance Nutrition. We're here in Austin, Texas, at his warehouse, at his gym. Had a great workout, great fun. I keep wanting to say weekend. It feels like a weekend.
It does feel like a weekend.
It's like Tuesday.
I think it's a Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, he was 4 years active duty as an infantry officer, airborne ranger. Pretty badass. Got out as a first lieutenant. I did 6 years active duty. Got out as an E6 staff sergeant in the U.S. Army. I had one other thing. You said something that like sparked in me. I was like, I want to touch on that. Oh yeah, the how bad do you want it and what are you willing to do? And like, I'm not trying to say this to brag, but just to show you guys that hard work can and does pay off. I picked up E6 actually technically in less than 5 years, which in the non-commissioned officer world is really hard to do. Mm-hmm. So just in like the points were extremely high and they weren't promoting people for months and months and months. And so a lot of people could just be like, all right, well, it's not going to happen, so I'm not going to do the work now, which again is a carryover. Like the opportunity may not be here, the job may not be here, the client may not be here yet, but that doesn't mean you can't show up every day. It doesn't mean you should stop showing up every day and just acting as if it was going to happen today, because that's how, like, sure enough, like I went to promotion board, made points, I just maxed out everything, and I you know, you don't have to get ready if you stay ready kind of mentality. So that's definitely been a huge carryover for me in running my own business, and I think Nick would agree.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, guys, thank you guys for watching. That's going to be a wrap. I'll link all of Nick's information down. I keep wanting to say show notes from the podcast, but what's it? The comment box?
Description.
But description, there we go. I'm new to YouTube. But thanks for watching, and go Army.
Be Navy.